Hi, the purpose of this video is to review the 77 and 80 grain Sierra MatchKings in 223, and our students I've trained, shooters I've trained, have accounted for 4 national championships in NRA high power shooting one of these bullets.
There is a Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One.
So first I want to talk about the importance of prayer, because we get out there, we've chosen our bullet, we've worked up our loads carefully, we've practiced a lot, we're trying to develop our skills, but there are still some things that are out of our control, and we want to pray for success in the shooting endeavor. And just for one example, my son was out there, and he's a relatively inexperienced F-class shooter at the time, and he's hoping to make the next level in his progress in the NRA classifications, and he's not going for high master yet. He was trying to make something like master or expert, and he was kind of borderline. And in that third match of the day, the last match of scores that would count toward his next classification, it got real windy all of a sudden, and my wife just prayed like Jesus in the boat for the wind to be still. She asked, and she had the faith to do it. And suddenly the winds, which had whooped up to like 10 or 15 miles an hour, they got flat calm for the next 15 minutes, long enough to get the 20 rounds for record in, and my son did make his next level on the NRA classifications. Okay, so let's get back to talking about the 80 SMK first. And what we like about it is it's just so accurate and so easy to load for. We load it in a moderate load, 23 grains of Varget, a Lapua case, a match primer, overall length of 2.485 inches, and that gives a velocity in most of our F-class rifles, which have 30-inch barrels, of between 2,800 and 2,850 feet per second. Numerous perfect scores, 200 out of 200 for a 20-shot match, and 199s in NRA high-power matches such as F-class, and lots of high master scores. And the other thing that we like is that the exact same load is very accurate in multiple F-class rifles. The brass lasts 10 firings with that moderate load, and sometimes more. We've had brass go 14 firings before we required it. We've used this bullet for many years, so we used it long before Sierra started pointing the bullets. They're pointing them now to increase the ballistic coefficient, and there was no change in accuracy when they changed the bullet and started pointing it. And now that they're pointing it, we've measured the ballistic coefficient carefully with the lab radar, and the ballistic coefficient is consistent or a little higher than what Sierra claims. We measure ballistic coefficient just over 0.50, which makes this bullet supersonic out to 1,000 yards. Now, it's not a great choice for competition beyond about 800 yards, but it is supersonic out to 1,000 yards. And when I say it's easy to develop an accurate load for it, it's very easy to get an accuracy of about 0.6 minutes of angle, and then with a little load tweaking, you can get the accuracy better than that, down to about 3/10 or 4/10 of a minute. But it's supersonic to 1,000 yards, and we use it for practice at 1,000 yards, because our experiences with relatively inexperienced shooters, when you're learning to read the wind at 1,000 yards, it's easier to use a bullet that moves a little more in the wind, right? If you use a bullet with too high of a ballistic coefficient, sometimes those wind reading skills develop more slowly. Now, I will mention that even at 1,000 yards, they're supersonic at 1,000 yards. They reach 1,000 yards at about 1,200 feet per second, sometimes 1,250, depending on the rifle it's fired from. But that's not usually enough to trigger the electronic targets. Some electronic targets require velocities when they impact the target above 1,250 feet per second. So being supersonic is not quite enough. It needs to go through the targets a little faster than that. But we like it. It's great for competition. 300 yards, 600 yards, 800 yards. We really like it a lot. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the 77 Sierra MatchKing. The 80 grain bullet is designed by Sierra to load long. It's not designed to fit in like a standard AR magazine where they top out about 2.25 inches overall length. So if you need to load to feed from a shorter magazine, the 77 SMK is our bullet of choice. Once again, it's very accurate. It's very easy to load to get it to be accurate. And if you keep the velocity moderate, the cases last for a long time. Oh, let me mention this difference as well. The 80 SMK, it requires a 1 in 7 or a 1 in 8 twist to shoot accurately. And that's like, the 1 in 8 twist is non-negotiable. It won't shoot through a 1 in 9 twist. It'll tumble on the way to the target. We've tried it. It doesn't work. But if you've got the 1 in 9 twist or a shorter magazine, the 77 SMK is easy to load for. It's very accurate. It's just as accurate as the 80 SMK out to about 100 yards. But the lower ballistic coefficient, of the 77 SMK is a lot lower, and we verified it to be what Sierra claims as well. But having the much lower ballistic coefficient, because it's a different shaped bullet. It doesn't have that, it's got a longer bearing surface, essentially to allow you to seat it so much shorter in the case. And so it's got that lower ballistic coefficient. That one will move a lot more in the wind. But if you need to shoot it out of the slower twist barrel, or if you need to load it in that shorter magazine, 77 SMK is a great choice.
I tremble at the thought of Judgment Day. Lord, I am not ready. Please don't return just yet, for all my sins are put away. My cross is on the floor, and I would burn.